The views and opinions expressed by the guest author or speaker during this live session are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Reader's Magnet. The content shared is for informational purposes only and does not constitute endorsement or promotion of any particular belief, ideology, or product.
All right. Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another session here in Reader's Magnet's featured author interview. My name is Leah, and I will be your host for today. And with me is one of the Reader's Magnet's featured author. And today, she will be sharing to us what this book is all about, her as an author, and of course, what inspired her to write this book. So, yes, everyone, let's all welcome our one and only Miss Elizabeth Yarnell, author of the book, The Multiple Sclerosis Inflammation Connection. All right. Yes. Hi, Elizabeth. It's good to see you. How are you doing?
Hi, Lee. It's really nice to be here with you. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's also an honor for Reader's Magnet to be given the chance to be with you in this journey. So, yes, of course, we are very excited to know more information about your book. But before we do that, Elizabeth, of course, we wanted to know who Miss Elizabeth Yarnell is. So, yes, a little bit of self-introduction, please.
So, really, my story started in 1999 when I went to sleep one night, as usual, and I awoke the next morning blind in my right eye. And that soon after that, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So, that was 26 years ago now. And that was the beginning of my journey into the world of health and natural health and to learning what I could do to be more proactive about helping myself live with this autoimmune condition. Now I am a traditional naturopath. I went back to school. I am a certified food sensitivity therapist. I have an online clinic called the Inflammation Academy, and
Wow.
I am really obsessed with inflammation and how it is really behind most, if not all, symptoms of pain, discomfort, or dysfunction.
Mm. Wow, interesting. Thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. And yes, of course, this really talks, this topic of yours really talks about health, which is, yes, the multiple sclerosis inflammation connection. So, of course, we wanted to know what this book is really all about. So, yes, will you please tell us more about the book?
So the book is really a combination of, personal stories about my life with multiple sclerosis, intertwined
Mhm.
with stories of my clients over the last 15 years in my naturopathic clinic, the Inflammation Academy, who have been addressing their own diagnoses and lives of multiple sclerosis or other autoimmune conditions naturally with natural therapies and modalities through the Inflammation Academy. Also in this book are a number of what I call redefining MS ambassadors. Those are other practitioners who are doing great work with within the field of multiple sclerosis, working directly with people affected by multiple sclerosis or other autoimmune conditions, helping them in more natural ways. That doesn't mean that they necessarily tell people they can't take the pharmaceutical disease modifying therapies that are available. You can absolutely take that, but you still need to eat. You still need to live your life, and you still need to figure out how you're going to function day to day with an autoimmune condition.
I see. Wow, this is actually a nice, a good book, Elizabeth, because I believe that in your book, it also talks about how to manage the symptoms from constant inflammation, which also involves, the right understanding for the people to know its root causes as well, right? So, yeah, will you tell
Yes.
us more about that? Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, first we have to really understand what is inflammation. I mean, it's kind of a buzzword that we hear about a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
what I'm talking about in this book is what I call hidden inflammation. If if I
Oh.
were to turn my ankle and it would blow up like a softball, that is inflammation that we can see, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
swelling on my ankle. That's not the kind of inflammation I'm talking about. I'm talking about the inflammation that is systemic through our bodies and affects our brains and affects actually everywhere the bloodstream goes. And it's not necessarily something visible like a swollen ankle.
Mm. Which are these are the things that visible on, let's say, MRI, the magnetic resonance imaging. Well, well.
Yes. So when we use an MRI machine for people with multiple sclerosis, we can see inflammation in the brain and along the spinal
Mm-hmm.
cord, which we can't see without the use of that kind of machine. What we can see are the effects of that inflammation, which are symptoms and signs of pain, discomfort, and or dysfunction in the body.
Mm.
And if you can think about what you might know about multiple sclerosis, there's a lot of pain, discomfort, and dysfunction that happens with MS.
Right, I see. Well, thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. Now, in your book, Elizabeth, there's already a lot of books out there that also talks about the multiple sclerosis, which is, yes, in that inflammation. Now, what makes this book different from other books about multiple sclerosis or autoimmune conditions?
So, most other books about MS or other autoimmune conditions talk about symptoms of the disease. It might talk
Mm-hmm.
about some cellular functions. It doesn't really talk about inflammation. And it's certainly not focused, or they are certainly not focused on reducing inflammation as a way to manage your disease condition. The multiple sclerosis inflammation connection is all about positive ways that you can practice disease management yourself in your body without the help of doctors, without the help of drugs. You can take drugs if you want to, but you don't have to. And you can still live a really good, healthy, pain free, productive life despite a diagnosis of MS or other autoimmune condition.
Wow, that's nice. Really understanding its root causes at the same time. That would also include, the diet, stress, the lifestyle factors, which is, adopting an anti-inflammatory diet, rich in what the foods that we intake, the fruits, vegetables. And yeah, I really like how you also highlighted in this book. It's not just about you or the people understanding this kind of disease, but at the same time on how you can manage it by, yes, just like what you mentioned, Elizabeth, regular physical activity. They can also do that. Stress management techniques. Don't we already have that kinds of, a lot of things that we can do, to these activities really play a crucial roles, consulting healthcare professionals, personalized strategies, and that's actually great. That's actually great. Now, also, Elizabeth, we wanted to know, why are you the right person to write this book?
So, as a traditional naturopath, I'm actually
Mm-hmm.
board certified as a traditional naturopath. And that means that I'm trained in all kinds of healing modalities that are not pharmaceuticals, not surgeries, and I don't do diagnoses. So, really, for me, when people come to work with me in my clinic, I don't really care what they've been diagnosed with, or even if they haven't been able to find a diagnosis, but they know they have chronic symptoms of pain, discomfort, or dysfunction, because we can just focus on the inflammation behind those symptoms. It doesn't matter what the diagnosis is. So I practice something called, and this is what I talk about a lot in the book, it's called inflammation abatement. Like, what can you do in your life to reduce the amount of inflammation in your own body just in your
Mm.
daily lives with the what you choose to eat, what you choose to wash your clothes in, what you choose um, to use for your own stress management, all of those things. So the three pillars of inflammation abatement are diet, digestion, and parasites. And that is something that is very different in this book than most MS or other autoimmune condition books, is a full discussion on parasitic infestation, because parasites are much more common than we have been led to believe. Really, the
Mhm.
CDC estimates 7 out of 10 adults are carrying around a load of parasites. You might
Whoa.
not even know if you have parasites, but your body knows if you do, and that causes chronic inflammation. So, there's a lot of talk about parasites in this book.
Yes, that's very interesting. Especially that this book also, it's very advisable to really limit our exposures to environmental toxins. Wow. And at the same time, yeah, just like what you mentioned earlier, this is really something that would help you to reduce the risk of developing autoimmune diseases. Wow, that's nice. Sis. And also, going back to your journey creating this book, Elizabeth, you mentioned earlier that, you know, this book of yours is really, yes, it's advocating for a specific cause and agenda, but at the same time, it also tells about your story. You mentioned earlier about you, you just woke up from bed and then suddenly your left eye got blind. So that was the moment that you start jotting down notes. How was the experience then? Like, what did really, something pushed you to, hey, I also wanted to share my story at the same time to let the people know about these kinds of, topic that they need to know to help them better understand and to take care of their body. Yeah, can you tell us about that?
Well, when I was diagnosed back in 1999 with multiple sclerosis, the only advice I got from my doctors was you need to take one of these injectable,
Mm-hmm.
very toxic drugs with super amounts of side effects and really low rates of efficacy. They may or may not help slow down the course of this really scary disease that leads to disability and eventually death in MS. So my doctors basically all they could say was, we tell MS patients you should go home and rest. And I
Mm.
thought that was awful. I didn't want to sit
Right.
back and just wait for my body to fail on me and watch it all go downhill. I was 29 years old. Actually, I had just about to turn 30 at the time. I was recently engaged and my future wasn't full of plans with a wheelchair. It was full of plans with skis and hiking boots and adventure travel. And I didn't really want to give all of those plans up, even though the future that my and the science was telling me that that was not going to be part of my future anymore. So I look at myself, I'm kind of rebellious. If you tell me that I can't do something, that just makes me
Mm-hmm.
want to look harder to find the workaround solution.
Right, right. Wow. You're truly inspirational, Elizabeth. You creating this book really empowers our individuals out there to, reclaim their health and enhance their quality of life despite of these, diseases that they have. And wow, that is something that could really help our individuals out there, especially, going through the same experience as yours, that, hey, you need to step up. You need to step up, do something about it. Wow. That's
My
a great.
doctors told me nothing I could do myself would change the course of my disease. And wow,
Mhm.
here I am sitting 26 years later,
Right.
and they couldn't have been more wrong. I am not anywhere near a wheelchair. I do jazzercise every day. I live a very active and fulfilling life without any signs or symptoms of multiple sclerosis. So they're so
Exactly.
wrong. Yet I still have 17 scars on my brain, according to my MRI.
Mhm.
They're there, but they don't have to rule my life.
Right. Wow. I like it. Full of spirit, Elizabeth. Wow. Truly inspirational. Thank you. And of course, Elizabeth, what is the message of, is there any message that you'd like to say to our viewers right now?
So I subtitled the book From Life Sentence to Life Solution, because
I
really the
like that.
most important message that I hope to get across is that there is hope. Just because you may have been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis or another autoimmune condition doesn't mean that you're now doomed to living a disabled life. It doesn't necessarily need to mean that. And despite what you may hear, having been diagnosed with that, there's so much out there that you can do for yourself to change your own future for the better.
Wow, I like that. Things that you can do to feel better and healthier. Consider incorporating a balanced diet. Do that. Rich in fruits, vegetables, even walking, doing yoga, sports, ensuring that, wow, this is actually, something that would, do these. And by establishing a consistent, practicing mindfulness or meditation, reducing this kinds of stress, maintaining a social connections at the same time can really help you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. And yes, for our viewers out there, if you are interested to know more information about this book, to also know the journey of our author, please do check her website. That is msinflammation.com. And everyone, this is really going to be a great guide for you to to feel better and have a healthier life. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for really gracing with us today, Ms. Elizabeth Yarnell. And yes, everyone, this is our author of the book, Ms. Elizabeth Yarnell, for the multiple sclerosis inflammation connection. Again, please do check her website. That is msinflammation.com. Again, Ms. Elizabeth Yarnell, thank you so much for gracing with us today. And yes, as we say it here in Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lee.